The Multimedia Ninja Podcast, Episode 38.
Hey, this is Brian Stevens, producer, engineer, drummer, and all-around good guy, and you're listening to The Multimedia Ninja.
Bam! Hello again, and welcome to The Multimedia Ninja Podcast, where it's all about surviving and thriving in the digital convergence. My name is Bradford Rogers, and I'll be interviewing some multimedia ninjas who are making things happen in their respective fields and sharing tips, tools, and insights for multimedia artists and content creators. As always, you can find show notes at themultimedianinja.com. This week, producer, drummer, and all-around good guy, Brian Stevens. As you may know, in this podcast series, my friends and I will be talking about all things multimedia, including creativity, shaping your ideas, and how to be more productive doing it, regardless of what kind of content you're creating. We have got an exciting episode for you today, so what do you say we just let's get to it? Hello, Multimedia Ninja Nation. It's been a minute, and thanks to the good offices of Brad McDonald down at SAE Institute of Atlanta and my trusty new intern, Sizway, a.k.a. Siz, we are back with new video and audio episodes. Thanks to everyone who's been keeping up with it and liking and subscribing and commenting. Please keep that up on YouTube and on the iTunes and whatever, because this is a labor of love for me sharing some of the multimedia madness and how you could actually, in some cases, make a living doing this sort of thing. But it certainly is a huge expenditure of time. And once we went to the video format as opposed to just audio, it's definitely a whole nother level. So thanks to Sis for helping me out. Thanks to everybody for listening. And I'm just going to dive right into our interview with Mr. Brian Stevens, except to say this is your last chance to see fat bearded Bradford on the podcast as opposed to the svelte new dieted Bradford at 194 pounds or so. So enjoy. And with that, we're going to take you to the interview with Brian Stevens. And here you go. Ladies and gentlemen of the virtual studio audience, please give it up for Mr. Brian Stevens.
Oh, thank you. You're too kind.
Yeah.
You're too kind.
Yeah, sorry I was munching on the pork chop when you got here. But,
no worries. Man's got to eat.
That's right. So we've both been on, I think it's safe to say, the diet plan.
Yes.
How's it going on your end?
I'm doing great. I'm 30 pounds down in 7 weeks.
Wow, that's awesome.
And at the end of this week, I should be down 35 pounds.
Wow.
And then I just shift into a whole nother mode where I want to look like Ryan, that dude that's in the Deadpool movie now, whatever that guy's name is. Right. I'm trying to look like that dude.
Cool.
I'm going to take all his parts. I'm going to take Hollywood by storm.
Yeah. What Brian has lost and what I am attempting to lose still is the equivalent to this dumbbell.
And I was a dumbbell for gaining that much weight, so.
It's hard to believe, even if it's carried all over your body, that there's that much extra.
And for me, that was a lot of the reason to lose weight was I just felt like I was carrying way too much.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And especially when you have crazy schedules, long hours, 16 to 20 hour days, back to back to back, and you normally just eat whatever's in front of you. Mm-hmm. It's easy to get that way, and all of a sudden you get a month deep into work and you just feel like somebody beat you with a bat.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And the past year, I kind of went through a thing where I got sick like 2 or 3 days. I'd have a flu or a cold or something. I never get sick. This past year, like 2 or 3 times. And it was just from running myself down. So I thought, it's time for a lifestyle change.
Right.
That's more than you wanted to know.
No, that's good.
You asked me what time it was, and I told you how to make a watch.
No, I'm all into that. And you're also doing the 4-hour body thing, yes. Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Tim Ferriss and his his knowledge and expertise has been great. And it really is indicative of how I run all my life, which is books are cool and information is cool, but vetted information is the way to go. You
Right.
want not just somebody who can write a book or put a YouTube video up or do something and tell you something because they have the knowledge. I want somebody that's been boots on the ground and actually gone through it, and they've not only tested it with themselves, they've also given that to other people. And you can very easily go, well, this guy and this girl and this other person, they all use the same information, and they got amazing results.
Right.
And with audio education, there's a lot of things online, a lot of places you can learn.
Yeah.
There are people that are doing podcasts that don't do this, day in, day out, week in, week out. But that's what makes this podcast so valuable.
Yes.
Because you've got, not only yourself, but your guests are people that they do this. They're
Right.
in the trenches. And that's the kind of knowledge that I want. That's what pushes you forward.
Yeah. There's what's that old saying? Those who can't do teach, but that's not always true.
No,
but sometimes it is.
There are some people that are really blowing that out of the water at this point. There are drum teachers like Mike Johnston. There are audio guys like Dave Pensato.
Oh, yeah,
who are amazing.
Pensado's place.
Yes. Amazing educators that are just blowing that whole paradigm out of the water. Those who can do should teach
Right.
is what it needs to be.
So
Write that down. I said that first.
Yeah.
I said that first.
I'm going to put that in the show notes. Another little similarity, by the way, is you've brought the Heil PR40 microphone.
Yes.
So this is officially the first podcast with two Heil PR40s. And hopefully our timbres match to some extent.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big shout out to Heil. They make great microphones.
Yeah. And if
They make wonderful, lovely microphones. I couldn't live without. I couldn't do the work that I do day in and day out without the Heil PR40.
you're angling for an endorsement, aren't you?
Did I oversell it?
I don't know. But you can get all sexy when you get serious right up on them. Not like that. You can dial it back, but it's still got that thing.
Ooh, I'm getting all tingly.
Yep, I'll stop. Yeah. So, but I think the first time I met you, by the way, I've seen, lately we've been seeing each other all around the Recording Academy stuff, which you are a voting member again.
Yes.
I highly recommend it to anyone who is qualified to do so, because that is a very wise thing to do.
And even if you're not, this is my pitch and my spiel that I'm giving people now. Even if you're not eligible to be a voting member, you ought to get in as a non-voting member, because there's an interesting thing that happens when if you're talking about momentum and getting from point A to point B. There's an interesting thing that happens when you jump in the shallow end of the pool. Eventually, you learn how to swim. And so if you get into an organization like that as a non-voting member, and you get active and you meet people and you find ways to add value to other people's lives, you're a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, and you've created an entirely new look to your life. And now all of a sudden, if that's what your goal is to do the kind of work that would get you into that other tier of voting member, all of a sudden, magically, the work came to you.
Right.
And magically the credits came to you. And who knows, a decade later, you might stand on a stage and get a little award, a statue, in front of a lot of really important people that says, that guy or that girl does amazing work. And the reason you know about it is because we know about it. And we know about it because they got in the shallow end of the pool.
By the way, you can go to, was it GrammyPro.com/join, I think, if you think you may have the credits to join that august.
That's not the thing to do during an interview right there, by the way.
Yeah.
That's a total rookie move. I should have gotten the non-noisy can.
So, yeah, I have... aside from seeing you a ton in the last couple of years, relatively speaking, I think I first met you on a gig And I want to say it was an outdoor gig with Nick Longo at a pizza or similar joint in Sandy Springs.
That sounds about right.
Possibly with Tommy Vickery on bass.
Quite possibly.
Aha. Which
Quite
was,
possibly.
Yeah, okay.
Long time ago.
That's one of the few things I can remember from that time period. But we kind of skipped over the intro, so maybe you can give the studio audience a little info on yourself and how, you're doing obviously audio work now, video work, got a podcast coming.
Yep.
And the title is?
Fader Jocks.
Ah, yes. Very nice. I assume that may have something to do with audio.
Yes, it does. There is a whole crowd of professional, creative audio people that I really want the world to meet. And most of the time in our industry especially, but with civilians, people that are up-and-comers or they're trying to get into the business, the thing that I notice is that our industry has a really bad habit of only spotlighting the people at the what they consider to be the very, very tip top of the industry. But to use a way overused analogy, our industry is a lot like an iceberg. The tip top that you see, the people that are making...
Don't mind Daisy.
I love this.
We have a dog digging, but pray proceeds.
He's like, you're laying it on thick, dude. I'm digging you a hole for it.
Yeah, you're on camera, Daisy. Chill out now. Let's dial it down there, girl. I knew we'd get a good moment out of that.
Of course. No. So I think, and a lot of industries are like this, but ours especially. We really only spotlight the people that, for one reason or another, have the highest visibility. And what I think, and this is my own opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, I happen to know firsthand there are a lot of people that are not high-profile players in this industry that do amazing work, that make a lot of money, a lot of money relative to working at UPS, we'll say.
Right.
Make a lot of money, that have lives that if you looked at their life, you go, man, that is an amazing, amazing life. I would love to live in that guy's shoes or that girl's shoes. And so the whole point of the podcast is to spotlight these people, let them talk about what they do, how they do it, what they love about it, and find some other next level information that you need to know. How did those people get to be who they are, and what are some of the things that you might really want to know? Not just their favorite microphone or some kind of technique, but how do they live their lives? And so that's the idea of the Fader Jocks podcast, is that we spotlight, we'll have some heavy hitters. I'm not going to exclude those people because they're people too. And I want to bring attention to this whole other tier of working professional that in any industry, whether it's audio, video, television, movies, sports, there's only so much of your profile that you have any say about.
Right.
Now, you can be the absolute best at what you do. You can crank out amazing work. You can be highly skilled and very insightful and bring something very special to the table. But at a certain point, it's someone else's decision whether or not you're going to be the whatever. Ryan Reynolds, we were talking about before.
That's who it was.
He's a great looking dude, if you're judging how good dudes look, I guess. He's a great looking dude. He's not a bad actor at all. He's very charismatic. The camera loves the guy, and he's got great comedic timing. He can be very serious and do dramatic. He's got all these skills, but there are a lot of people in Hollywood that have the same skills, that look as good as he does on camera and are as dedicated to the craft. They just haven't had that person or that group of people decide, yeah, you're the next one. And so that's really where I want to take the podcast, is to be able to show people that, okay, some of that next tier you have no control over. But everything about working, doing great work, being great at what you do, and making a reasonably respectable living is in your control.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is.
Daisy approved.
Yes.
I think by the time we get done with this episode, I think we may have to let her into the living room. Anywho.
It's okay.
Bless her heart.
Day.
Anyway, so did you start out as a drummer, or I assume in musical?
I started out as a trumpet player.
Really, you too?
7th grade as a trumpet player.
Okay.
My band director, he did some kind of little test where he tapped on a desk and you tapped on a desk, and then from that one little 15-second test,
You're going to be a trumpet player.
yeah, he goes, you're not fit for drums.
Huh.
What I
Okay.
didn't realize was he had 7 spots for drummers and 45 people that wanted to be drummers.
Right.
And, he had 12 slots for trumpet players and one lone guy with thick Coke bottle glasses that talked really high, kind of like this, wanted to be a trumpet player.
Uh-huh.
So he just sort of arbitrarily decided, that kid looks like he'll practice. I'll put him on the trumpet.
Gotcha.
And he was right. It's one of those where I've always been in and around music in one way or another, whether it's a Sears drum kit with paper heads, or the plastic red, white, and blue guitar that you get at Christmas,
Right.
with the nylon strings on it. It looks like a cross between a Glenn Campbell guitar and an Evel Knievel guitar, And so I've always had an interest in music, and so I took to the trumpet right away. I was a little disappointed I didn't get to play drums, but I figured, here's the trumpet, bloom where you're planted. But by midway through high school, I got really serious about the drums, playing in church, playing in bands, because you can only get so many chicks with the trumpet. Miles.
That's
Davis.
what you think.
Oh wow.
Hey-o.
Oh, so it's
No, you're right.
Yeah. I mean, on the scale of coolness, there's trumpet, there's keyboards, trumpet, and Miles Davis is the only reason that there's that. It'd be flipped if it weren't for Miles. Yeah, okay. So, and then there's guitar, and then somewhere way up here, there's the drums, baby. It's right here at the top of the frame, right there. And I really loved the drums. I thought it was a cool instrument.
Let's not forget front man.
He may be off the grid. So in the shot that's right there, he's going to go off the grid. But in terms of the respect he has from everybody else, he's way down here. He's on the bottom side of the frame there.
Well, it varies. It varies. I won't tell the chick singer jokes because that would get people riled up. So
you want people to like you.
We'll say the dude. You know how the dude singer's at your door.
Okay.
He can't find the key and he doesn't know when to come in. Yayo! So you started on the trumpet,
yes,
and went through the music. When did you get into audio, and how?
I started about 18 or 19 when I started playing in bands that were trying to make serious original music, where we'd go into a studio and we would, all play together and try and sound like our favorite band and not.
Right.
That's when I started jumping in the control room and bothering the engineer. I remember I was playing in a band at the time called Tattooed and Screams. And so we got in the studio, spent a couple of days playing everything down, and then sat in the control room getting ready to mix, and it didn't sound like Megadeth. And I was upset. So, of course, I took, my Megadeth CDs in, because we had CDs at that point, and I played them for the engineer, and I was like, I really want it to sound like this. This is what we're really going for, with a little bit of Judas Priest in there, trying to describe it, and not just describe it like, I want the drums to sound more blue, but really giving him some examples. And
it's like the Trooper meets Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, there you go. Why not? Nobody's done that. So I got frustrated that I couldn't get the things I was looking for from the engineers I was working with. And me, in my very naive mind, I thought, this crap can't be that hard. I can learn to do this. And that started what has now been a 20-plus year journey where I'm still learning how to freaking do this.
Right. Yeah, I remember the band thing. And by the way, sorry I keep adjusting your mic, but I'm looking at the wrong video monitor.
No, that's fine too.
Our backup camera wasn't framed optimally, but the real one's great there. Yeah, so yeah.
All these little video nuggets that you can put in.
And wave to the GoPro up there. Hey. Yeah, the first studio I was in with a band, I think I was like 18, 20-ish, South Atlanta, between same building as a funeral parlor and a hair salon.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I don't know, the funeral parlor might have been next door, just adjacent, but they got the hearse out back, and the walls were all in shag carpet. And actually, ever since then, I've had this feeling that I really like recording, because I'm not doing like Eric Clapton style. I don't need a tuned room. I mean, that's like certain amount of wood and a certain angle, and
right.
I would rather have that just dead ass, and and we have these great reverbs and delays these days, but I just love that feeling of getting in there, with a quartet plus singer, and every hit, you only got it direct. You didn't get the reflections, and it was just it's like freaking Steely Dan, except that we weren't any good. I don't know. Some of them were good. I'm not claiming I was, but anyway, ever since then, I've really dug that. That was a formative experience.
Yeah.
But I digress anyway. So now, what are you working on these days?
Well, it's all over the map, really. I tell people I have multiple income streams.
Yes.
So I divide it out into 3 different segments. There's the producer, Brian Stevens. There's the engineer, Brian Stevens, and then there's the drummer, Brian Stevens. And so all of my income streams fall in one of those 3 categories. As far as a producer, in the studio specifically, I'm either going to produce some kind of CD project, or I just finished a single for a country singer-songwriter. Which we may play on the show.
Yes, I think right at the end of this segment, perhaps.
Yeah. We'll play a little of that. But I also produce a lot of other things when it comes to audio, whether it's television or radio jingles, music for multimedia projects or video projects, voiceovers. And
I can tell, yes.
I don't actually do. I have too much of a drawl for the voiceovers. I'm a little too Southern for the drawl, and Southern for the voiceover part. But I'm a heck of a director, producer kind of guy when it comes to that.
I'm available, by the way, just in case it comes up.
I will remember that. And it's for all kinds of different clients. So I have, singer-songwriter clients, band clients, but I also have corporate clients that need all kinds of different things. I've got a couple of corporate clients that I've produced podcasts for the past 5 or 6 years that you'll never see my name.
Right.
You'll never see anything about me because the product is not about me. Other than maybe
just the name on the check.
Yeah, exactly. Dang straight, brother. It really is. It's a service industry, so it's providing people with what they need at a really high quality. So that's the producer part. The engineer part, people will come into my studio. Aside from doing drum tracks, people will come to my studio as an adjunct or an add-on to their home studios. So maybe they can do everything but, say, acoustic instruments, acoustic guitar or fiddle or some other thing that really requires a nice room and a nice front end. Great mics, great pre's, great compression, all that stuff. Voice talent, whether it's voiceovers for those kind of commercials. I've got a few ad agencies I do stuff for, or singers, like singer-songwriters that can record most of their project maybe in their home studio, or maybe they're collaborating with other people, and they want a place to come where they can get great sounding vocals. I just finished a record this past year with a gal named Joy Fowler, and the entire record was recorded with a producer in Nashville, but all of the vocals, all of her lead vocals, we did here in Atlanta at my studio. And I have had a long-standing friendship with the producer, so he Skyped in on a few of our sessions, but for the most part, it was, all right, here's the vocal sound I'm looking for. You know how to get what I want in terms of a performance. Just handle it and send me the files. I do some mixing for people that record things in other places, and some mastering as well. And so that's
all?
engineer. That's it. I do some live stuff too. I have like most any working musician or engineer in this town, I have a Sunday gig where I work at a very large church,
right?
And I'll mix front of house sound. But I also record that stuff, and not just Sundays. The church that I'm at, give a shout out to Peachtree Road United Methodist.
There we are.
Down in Buckhead. It started when I started out there 8 years ago. It was just a traditional church that did a lot of classically based music,
right.
Whether it was pipe organ and piano, or a lot of times we'll do, say, a 30-piece orchestra. But it has grown over time, and now we run concurrent types of services. So we still have the big traditional thing where I'm mainly there, but then I also work with some of our other things. We've got more of a contemporary band basically a band set in a whole other service. We've got a small combo that does elementary school kids and that kind of format, whatever works in terms of instrumentation for high energy kids programming. And there's just a lot of stuff. We record probably a dozen concerts a year. And so bring all those back to the studio, mix and master them there. And
nice.
And now, as with a lot of we'll call them houses of worship. They really have more need for recording both audio and video, more than just Sundays now. Now they're really taking hold of what can be done through the internet as a marketing vehicle and a vehicle to announce things, or to garner interest and generate buzz.
Content.
Yes, and they're generating all kinds of content. And with my particular church gig, we're generating a lot of different kinds of content between podcasts, promo videos, interviews. We have a bunch of different authors, educators, clergy that come and do lectures and classes. So there's all kinds of educational stuff that we're looking at. And even as of this morning, I had a meeting about starting to build a library of content that's purely educational for lay people. So whether it's biblical teaching or it's some historical information that ties into biblical principles that can be used in a modern world, or any of that stuff.
Right.
They're wanting to build a library of classes that people can view online. So the engagement online now with audio and video is going through the roof in that sector. And if there's one thing I've been very good at, it's about forecasting where the puck is going to go. And my entire career has been built on not just, hey, I love rock bands. I want to record rock bands all day long. It has been about, all right, I've got this skill set as a musician, as an engineer, as a producer. I've got these skills that can really be applied in a whole variety of situations. Now, what do people need? And that's the real key to me in growing a successful business, is not basing your business model on what do I like to do, but rather what do people need? We're a service industry. I enjoy my work. I love my work. And I love most of the people I work with.
Yes.
But
that's a topic for next episode.
Exactly. But I'm not in business to make myself happy. I'm in business to make freaking money and to turn out products that, for whatever my role is in those projects, there's a high level of execution. So the movie recording has been stopped automatically.
Yes. On that note, I think
take a pause.
Yeah, if I'd like to get you back on the next episode, if you don't mind.
Okay.
And on the audio version of the podcast, we are right now going to go to the song
This is called Country Lovin'.
Uh-huh.
And I finished the mix on this yesterday. Mm-hmm. So by the time your episode comes out, it should be in iTunes. Search for Sonia Shell. She's a local Atlanta singer-songwriter. And on the track, we've got Scott Patton and Brandon Bush from Sugarland.
Yes, sir.
And I also got Joe Rita on bass, who's like the Atlanta session bass player. And then a gal named Angie Driscoll is doing background vocals. I'm playing drums and percussion and doing a little singing and putting a few little sounds in there as well. So Country Lovin' by Sonia Shell.
So audio podcast, stand by for that. I will put the links to the iTunes thing in the show notes. Yep. And join us again next episode with Mr. Brian Stevens.
Rockin'.
Well, that just about wraps up another edition of the Multimedia Ninja podcast. I hope you'll come back next week and bring your friends. How do you like that fat guy on this one? Anyway, with the beard. Not Brian. He's getting quite slim. But that's the last you'll see of Fat Bearded Guy as far as your host anytime soon, I hope. At any rate, I really appreciate everybody coming and checking it out, and we will have Mr. Brian Stevens back soon. It will not be next week as we check our schedules, but it will be soon. And I will get the heck out of the way. For those of you on the audio podcast, stand by to hear Country Lovin', produced by Mr. Brian Stevens. And the rest of you, I will see you next week. We got a lot of catching up to do, and I think you're going to find what's been going on to be very interesting. See you then.